Let me get my thing. How are you? How are you all doing? Good evening. Happy Monday. Hello, Gary, Deborah, Bree, Sheeb. How are you doing today? Okay. Here we are doing our live, our Monday live. And today I want to talk about how the things that are different when you fall in love after being 46 years alone. And that means that I have basically a surprise life. My everything that's going on in my life. Hi, Danny. Everything that's going on in my life today is not familiar. It's not what I expected. And it's all a pretty big surprise. Hi, Anita. How are you? How's your family? How's your dad? How did he recover well from his surgery? I think I'm going to move over here more. Did your dad recover from the surgery? Hi, Lisa. How are you? Anita is our moderator. Hi, Lisa. I saw you out there by the pool looking fine. Oh, so I hope you all had a good 4th of July. I missed you all. He's doing good. He's recovering. It's funny. I have, one day I guess I'm going to have that eye surgery, but cataracts. But every time I go, year after year, it's still the same. So anyway, but I just want to talk about my surprise life. Surprise life, surprise life. You know what? You think that you have your life all planned and you know how it's going to be, like Anita. So you probably think, well, this is where my life is going now, and this is how it'll be going next year and the next year. And Lisa, probably the same. And, it's kind of like you're on a train. Your life is you're on a train and you're kind of going through life, and, things happen. And then something can happen, and then everything in your life is unfamiliar and different. And that's kind of what happened to me. When I, to be honest, when I turned 70, I thought, oh, my life is really over. I had some, like a lot of loss. I lost 2 of my brothers. My mother was gone at 44. So, you don't really think that you when you're young and when you're in your 20s, you think that 44 or 41 or whatever is old. You think it's kind of old. You don't really realize. And then, when you turn 70, you just really think that everything's pretty much over. You think like, I don't know how many of you, maybe, you turn 50. You're like, oh my God, I'm old. I remember like when you get older, you just start feeling a different way. How many of you ever kind of like are surprised at how old you are or feel like you're getting older? How many of you, how do you feel about getting older? Do you feel like, oh, wow, I'm getting older, or you feel like, oh my God, I'm getting older. I was kind of the ones to say, wow, I'm getting older, especially by the time I turned 70. And, again, I was more invested in my life as a coach. And I got my satisfaction out of helping other people have a good life. But I didn't think that kind of life was for me. And so I wanted to play it safe. So how many of you feel like you prefer to feel safe. If you want to feel safe rather than not safe in your life, how many would you feel safe? If you want safe, just write safe. Type safe in the comments. You want to safe or you want to live unsafe? Safe, yeah. Rose, safe. Lisa, yeah. Yeah, safe. Anita, yeah. Yeah, it's just natural. You want to feel safe. And so, in order to feel safe, you have to kind of do things like you've always done. If you go and do things you've never done, now you're in unfamiliar territory and you feel unsafe. So, I felt safe in my life. I felt safe because I wasn't giving Ms. Butterfly, yeah, safe. Yeah. Sharon's Daily Freedom, safe. Yeah. We want to feel safe. So in order to feel safe, what we have to do is we have to keep doing what we normally do. We don't get outside of our comfort zone. We just are kind of safe. And that was how I was. I felt like, that God had given me a gift where I could help other people. And that was good. And I would just be safe, help other people, be there for my children, be there for my brother, family, and friends. I was always like a good friend. And then, hi Trey Bean Bennett. When as I was getting older, I started losing my good friends. They started passing away because we're in their 70s. So when you're in your 50s and 60s, you start seeing people around you pass away. So one of my very best friend, who was like my sister, passed away, and that was just shocking to me. That because you think when you're young, you think you're going to live forever, right? So anyway, by the time I got to be 75, I felt really, kind of safe. The only thing was unsafe was that, life changes, careers change and business changes. And I knew that I had to keep working because I wasn't someone who's going to be on a retirement. I've been self-employed. So I needed to keep my business going. So that's when I got a coach. I'm trying to think how old she was. I think maybe she was in her 60s. She's been gone a while now. Maybe she was in her late 50s. Maybe she passed away. She lived in Las Vegas. And I went there and she had terminal cancer, and it was really hard. It was very hard. And yours was 74, Rose. Oh, it really shakes you when somebody really close to you passes away, doesn't it, Rose? It's just like, oh my God, you realize immortality. You realize mortality. So, I was in my 70s. And so I ended up, but I knew I had to work. So anyway, that's how I got a coach. And how many of you have ever worked with a coach before? I'm a coach. So I help people, but you've worked with a coach? I decided I needed a coach. I needed a business coach to help me with my business. And so it wasn't to get outside of my comfort zone. I just okay, I need to find out how I could, keep my business going. Your mom passed away from cancer. Exhale, Babs. That's hard. How old was your mom when she passed away? So, I think we all are surprised. I mean, do you ever feel surprised? Say me, if you ever feel surprised that you're getting older every year. If so, say me. You start looking like, oh my God, I'm getting older every day. I'm getting older. Yeah. So I was feeling like that, oh, well, so many people was gone. And so I was just like, you Trey Bennett, you do too, Miss Butterfly. So you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting older. You're trying to embrace it, Lisa. That's good. So, I just kind of by that time, two of my brothers were gone. My dad was gone. I only had one brother who's 10 years younger than me, and my two closest friends were gone. And uh, so anyway, I was just like, okay, this is my last hurrah. This is it, but I better get my business together. So when I got the business coach, she's like me, because there's people come to me for coaching. It's not just about your business, it's about your life, your marriage, your health, it's everything. So obviously I got a coach, and she said the same thing. So I didn't think about falling in love. I didn't think about, I didn't want to get outside of my comfort zone. So inside my comfort zone was my career, my family, my friends. Of course, my families and friends were like passing away. So, and then, I hadn't dated literally for 20 years. So I thought, okay, I'll get my business together. And I wasn't unhappy. I love my home. I love my work. I love making my own decision. And I knew where everything was in my kitchen and in my house. And I hired help to help me. And I have people working for me. So I felt like I was, this life is good. And, a lot of people think if you're alone, you're lonely. But I was not lonely. If you're alone, or you're not dating, or if you've not dated, were you lonely or okay? I was okay. If you were okay, just say okay. I was okay. I wasn't walking around with a bleeding heart. You felt okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. I was exactly like that. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly like that. Like, okay, I'm good. I'm by myself. I've been by myself 46 years. I raised two lovely children. I have my home. I have my business. Yeah, Rose. Yeah. So, I wasn't walking around like a bleeding heart, like, oh my God, I should meet someone. Oh, I should fall in love. In fact, I was surprised. Hi, Patricia. Patricia says it's good to be alone. So that's how I felt. I felt like, I'm comfortable. I'm in my comfort zone. I'm safe. I am safe. Jeannie says, I love being alone. Yeah. So that's how I felt. And, my life fit me beautifully. I made peace with, my life. And I knew that love wasn't going to be a part of my story. So, what surprised me was number one, I guess I was surprised that I fell in love. And the other thing was I was surprised at how I changed so many different things that I was doing when not being alone. That was the crazy part for me. You know what I mean? If you had told me, I met him at 75. If you tell me that I was be where I am now at 77, 2 years later, I would have said, no way, no way. My kids are like, what's wrong with mom? Okay, here she is, with this guy, and so, I've like made, like adjusted my life for another human being. And and I just thought about me and make a decision. So, and my kids, they only know one version of me, that my mom, she's by herself. She's not going to be with a man all the time. And they're still trying to figure it out, what's going on. So there are things that people don't warn you about. Hi, Patricia. Yeah. So nice to talk to you both, to find you love at 77. Our families, I think it's funny. Our families, like my kids, they're like, they they don't understand it. And they just say, okay, as long as he makes you happy. We met online. We met on Match.com. So when I went to the coach and I told her, I'm 75 and I'm a has been and my business, I'm trying to get my business is limping along and and she's like, well, what about your social life? And I'm like, well, I'm 75, so that part of my life is over. And she says, no, it's not. You're not too old. You get out there. You get out there and go get on all the apps. Go out there and date and start and find someone. And I thought it was kind of ridiculous. Like, really, that was kind of getting outside my safety. But I just like, okay, all right. She's the coach. Because when I coach people, I expect them to do what I suggest if they want help. So I'm going to be an obedient coach, person who's coach. So I did go online and I did start dating. So, but there are things, when you've been by yourself for a long time, you just don't know, you don't know, you're not prepared. You're not prepared to have someone else in your life. Like today, for example, I lost all my stuff. I lost like my wallet, all my cards, my driver's license, all of that. And sometimes when you don't feel safe or you're doing things that are outside of your comfort zone, for me, I disassociate. How many of you know what disassociation is? You did that for a year when you were 68, Rose? Okay, tell us a little bit about that. So how many of you know what disassociating is? When you disassociate. Does anybody know what disassociation is? Kind of. Jade, what do you think that disassociation is? No, Rose, you don't know? Who knows what disassociation is? If you're disassociated. It's a scientific term to disassociate, not being present. Okay, that's good. That's good. Who else knows what else? You no longer want to be associated with that thing. Well, detached in a way. A lot of us learn, especially if to avoid not to connect. Okay, that's Lisa. Yeah, that's kind of like that. So for me, I'll tell you my experience with disassociation is when you live in when you grow up as a kid, not acting with others personally. Okay, and Patricia wants to know what made me start dating. So disassociating, when you grow up in a kid and you have chaos, or there's fighting, or there's all these things in your house, your nervous system can't take it. You know what I mean? When you're a kid, you're very vulnerable, and if there's things going around in your family or your whatever, you could go crazy, or you could whatever. So our brains have a way of disassociating. So in a way, it's like you leave your body. You kind of leave your body in a way. You know what I mean? So you kind of go over here and you kind of dull out, you kind of numb out, and you're not really feeling the pain or anxiety or whatever it is you're feeling as a kid. That's a major thing, is how we survive, because a lot of times we'll look at our childhood or bad relationships or whatever, and you wonder how you made it. And what happened is you just disassociate. So you go somewhere else. Your brain is somewhere else. Like for me, I would read books, or I would, you could use TV, or some people drink. Sugar was a big disassociation for me. If I can like, if I'm like feeling really bad or whatever, I can have sugar and then I could disassociate, like not be here. So I found, hi Toby, good to see you. You've been traveling, good to see you. Uh, so being when you get outside your comfort zone, your body wants to disassociate. You want to disassociate because it's too, the feelings are too intense. So uh so yeah, so I started dating Patricia because I went to a coach, and I was 75 and I felt like my life was over, and she's saying, hey, get out there. It was a business coach, but anyway, she told me that I should also be out there dating. So that was outside of my comfort zone. That was way outside of my comfort zone. And what I find myself even now in the relationship is I find myself disassociating, like I'm not present. And it has nothing to do with him, but has everything to do with me. And so I've had some things that have happened in our relationship that don't make any sense. So for example, about a month or so ago, I was in my office at his house. It was my week at his house, and I was working on my app. I'll explain more to you about my app later. I was working on my app. I was in the office working on it, and I was something I wanted to show Greg. And he's in the front in the living room watching TV. So, and he's really supportive about what I'm doing, and I could share with him, and he comes up with ideas. So I was going to share with him something that I was doing, but I didn't realize I was disassociated, right? So I have on his shoes because he has these big sandals, and so I was wearing his shoes, and they're kind of like these, those they're not flip-flops because you don't have the thing between the toe, but those kind of shoes, they're rubber shoes and you slip your feet in, and his feet are much bigger than mine. So I'm like in his shoes, and I'm walking with my laptop to show him something, and I stumble, bend my foot over like this, and go over like this on the floor, drop my computer. I just like bleh, fell. No reason for me to fall. Yeah, slides. Yeah. I had no reason for me to fall, but I fell like really, really hard, bent my foot over, like if your foot is this way and the shoe, I went over like this, my foot bent in half. And I think you might have seen, yeah, you might have seen, I was at the hospital, I ended up going to the hospital after a month. So that's kind of disassociating, like that's kind of like drama. Like everything was fine. We were having a nice day. And, all of a sudden I'm like in the middle of the floor. And he's like, and they're watching TV, like, what the heck happened? How did you fall? My main thing was I hoped I hadn't ruined my computer, but I wasn't present in my body. Now, should I blame him because I wasn't present in my body? I'm clumsy too, but I mean that was like there's something I wasn't paying attention to that I would there's nothing to stumble over. You know what I mean? So that was one example. And so my foot it's 2 months later and my foot is just healing. So I'm at his house. Now, am I disassociating? Am I used to being in a man's house like the way I'm in his house? I'm not used to living in a man's house. Yeah. I shouldn't have had his shoes. Trying to walk in those big shoes and not paying attention, and I fell. So the latest thing I did was I lost, I'm at his house, and all this stuff happens when I'm at his house. I lost my driver's license, all my debit cards, all this stuff. So, and I need I have a payroll to pay. I have all these things and I lost all that. So it's like all this drama that I'm having. And, and I'm like, and I have to look like, if I'm going to take personal responsibility, like, Pamela, why are you disassociating? How did I lose it? Well, I'm going to tell you, even this is even crazier, right? So I decided that I was going to go out and about in his town. And I went out and there's a certain place I like to go have lunch. This is in your town, Tallahassee, Toby. And I went to have lunch, and then I went to go get my nails done. And I must have put my bag, which I had my cards, in my back seat. And I didn't zip it, and everything fell out. So I was looking for it, and I was looking. What happened was, I went to get my hair done, and I got ready to pay, and I had no cards. I had no driver's license. I had nothing. And I was like, oh my God, where is it? Maybe it's at home. So I come home and I'm looking through everything and I can't find it. And then I call Greg. Greg, could you look in my car? Because I leave my car at his house when he drives us back and forth. And he went and looked in the car. He didn't see it. And so now I got to replace my driver's license. I have to order my cards, and I got a payroll due. And I can't get the money out my account, so it's just a whole bunch of stuff. So today I came home. This is my week at Greg's house, right? So he and I had a lovely weekend, a lovely, lovely, lovely weekend in the Villages, the holiday. We have so much fun together. We really travel well together, and we enjoy our little romantic getaways, and we went dancing. How many of you saw the stuff on our post? We had dancing, and we were in the pool, and we had all this fun. But I had lost all my stuff. So when we got back to Greg's house, I said, Greg, tomorrow I got to go back to my house. I got to drive 3 hours to my house because my cards and everything that I had to order, they take 5 to 7 days to get, are back at my house now. And I got to go get my cards. And so I drove, got up this morning. Normally I'd be at his house this week, drove to my house. I'm pulling up in the driveway, and I'm getting stuff out my car, and look in the back seat. And there's all my cards and my driver's license in the back seat on the floor of my car, behind the driver's seat. It was crazy. Yeah, we had lots of fun. But I mean, can you believe that? It was in my car the whole time. The whole time it was in the car. So I'm saying, to me, these are not normal things for me to trip and really hurt my foot. I am clumsy. I mean, I admit I am clumsy. But to lose, I've never lost my driver's license, my credit cards, my debit cards, lost everything. And it was in the back of my car. Well, I'd already gotten my license. I had already canceled all my cards, so, I found them, but they're not any good anymore because I replaced everything. So anyway, here I am at my house. So I'm doing the live here. Tomorrow I'll be back at his house. So tomorrow I have a client at noon, and then I'll drive back the 3 hours to his house, and then I'll spend the rest of the week at his house. It sounds like stuff you do, Jade. Yeah, I mean, it's like, so I'm trying to say, because I could say, oh, this just happens, but I want to be responsible because I want it to stop. I don't want to just say, oh, this is stuff I do. I want to say, okay, why is this happening? Why? Number one, I'm at his house when these things happen, right? So what is it in me? Because I'm outside my comfort zone, right? We say we don't like to be feel unsafe. I mean, I feel very safe with Greg, always. But for me, this is outside of 46 years of behavior. You know what I'm saying? So my some part inside of me, my invisible rule is saying, "Hey, what's going on here?" You know, what is going on? It is a big adjustment for me. I mean, you think 46 years, and and the other thing about it is that I'm in love with him. And I just never thought that that would happen. I didn't really. Uh, I'll tell you, when I was 55 and I stopped dating, there was a relationship, I've shared about it, that I was like that goo goo, that goo goo in love, and all gooey and in love and all that. And it was very painful. And I just said I never wanted to feel like that again. And I just felt like, who needs that? Because that is unsafe. That feels unsafe. How many of you, if you're goo goo, kind of in love and all that, does it feel unsafe? How many? It's nice to be in love, but it feels, part of your nervous system feels unsafe. You feel invulnerable because, especially like if you've been an Amazon woman your whole life, you know what I mean? I don't need anybody. I don't need a man. I could do everything myself. I'm not going to be all gooey. When I look at women, like, I'm not, oh, she's weak for a man. I'm not going to ever be weak for a man. And can't you, I saw my mother, like, oh, she was like so in love with my dad. He destroyed her, so, that was part of the 46 years. Like, hey, I'm not going to be goo goo, in love with anybody. So I had decided that I was going to protect myself emotionally from having those kind of feelings. And you certainly don't feel like you're going to be 75 and having that. You just, hey, who has that? So I think that this is what I think. I think that it's very good. I was listening to a book. How many of you have ever heard of what's it called? It's a book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Have anyone ever read that book? I was listening to that audio book today, and what it's talking about is that we have a level of happiness or success that we have, like a thermostat. So our thermostat will say, oh, this is how much money I can make, or this is how much happiness I can have, or this is how much love I can have, or whatever. But if you go above that, then your nervous system, your circuit system is like going crazy. And usually what you do is you sabotage it because it's so unfamiliar, because you want to go back to your safety zone. Does that make sense to you? Say yes if that does. I hope I described it right. Say yes if you understand. If you get outside, too far outside of your comfort zone, be it in business or making money or in love, your circuit system goes crazy, and then you find a way to get back down to safety because you're up here and you're just out of control. You know what I mean? And yeah, you've been there. Okay, Toby, like the live, yes. Trey Bean Benet said yes. Toby says yes. Miss Butterfly, Lisa, Joe, Jade, Anita. Yeah. So that's how our body keeps us in our comfort zone. That's why our life just keeps going a certain way. Because if you try to go outside of that, when your nervous system goes crazy, it tries to sabotage it so that it will. And and I mean, a lot, we've talked about it before, but we can remember how much I tried to sabotage the beginning of me and Greg's relationship. Bridget says your unconscious senses allowed you to let your guard down, and that can cause mishaps. Yeah. So these mishaps, Bridget said the right word. these mishaps I'm having, I question, like, why are you losing your license? Why are you having all this like falling and hurting yourself, and all that. And you know, I I can't say um, that there's I mean, this is something I think that I never thought I would have or feel, I never thought, I never thought that I would have or feel. I mean, even when I was married to my husband, I didn't feel this way. And like I said, I've only felt this way once in my life. And, and I'm very, very attached to him. I mean, I mean, this is too personal probably, but at night, if we're not sleeping like right, if I'm not sleeping right next to him, I mean, it's unusual. And it's like, okay, are we mad at each other or what's going on that we're not all in each other's arms? I mean, it's just really it's insane. It's insane. How and he, even when we first got together, he said, Jay, do I journal? I should. I do, and then I haven't been. And I thought about that this morning, and I said, you've got to do your thing. And also I could do my invisible rule, which I should be doing. And I'm gonna tell you all about doing it because I can talk it out and kind of feel better. I could talk to her every day. I should talk to my invisible rule every day. And you can too, and it is not going to cost you anything. So, and then of course, my feelings were far in advance of his feelings, and so that was even more scary. That was really more outside of my comfort zone because here I'm having all these feelings, and he's like doing what he does. In fact, I saw this thing I was telling Greg about the other day. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it, but it was Diane Keaton. May she rest in peace. I just loved her as an actress. And she was with, what's the guy? Oh gosh. I'm having a senior moment. But anyway, they were in that movie. Who's that guy? You know what I mean? He was like a big actor, and he was a Don. Jack Nicholson. Yes, I don't know if any of you all saw that. And she had fallen in love with this guy, and she was like crying in a mess, and she's saying to him, I am feeling all of this. Don't you know? Can't you? Do you feel any of this? And he's like, and all he can say, well, I don't make a very good boyfriend. And she's like crying, and she gets in the taxi. Has anyone seen that movie? I saw it. It was on TikTok. They had a short of it, but it was like that. And I said, oh, like before, I wouldn't have understood that. Wouldn't understand having those feelings. And then there's someone over here who's like a piece of wood, and it's a great movie, wasn't it? What is it called? As Good as It Gets, or what was the name of that movie? You saw it too, Patricia? But that's kind of, I'm learning. I'm in 77, and I'm like learning like what songs mean about love and things like that it just went over my head because I never felt that. I didn't get it. And now I'm like, oh, oh, that's what they mean, like, oh, that's what they mean. Oh, all night long. Oh, I never knew like that none of that ever applied to me. So, yeah, he says you make me a better man. Yeah, yeah. But at first, he didn't reciprocate her feelings. Remember that? And she got in the taxi and she's like, I feel all this, don't you feel this? And he's like, well, I'm not a very good boyfriend. And she's like, is that all you can say? She's like, I'm like a mess here. And that was kind of how it was with Greg. She was a writer in the movie. She did a great job. I love that movie because it was so true. but I had those were things before Greg. I wouldn't have gotten it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have gotten what it felt, what she was saying, because I didn't know, I couldn't relate. But I do have those feelings now. And it's like giving away pieces of yourself, uh uh and different things, like, that I thought mattered so much, things that I thought mattered about who he was and how he dressed and what he drove and all that stuff. And none of that matters. It's just really, especially you lived in California. California is just like so superficial, you know. Uh, so you know, but those are the things, that really, if I would say, number one is that I am outside of my safety zone. That's what it is. And I'm actually sharing my being outside of the safety zone with you. You know what I mean? That's even making, I'm not even doing it privately. I'm like this 77-year-old, you could say foolish woman in love, Oh my God, I'm just like, I am surprised, and it's just like, I'm surprised, I'm surprised. Like, okay, tomorrow I'll get in my car and drive. I mean, I would never make room for a man in my life. I mean, if a man, come to my house, I mean, I got all my closets filled with all of my clothes and all my stuff. There's no room for anybody else. And Greg is almost like that too. He's got like something in every room. And uh it's uncomfortable. And you just like feel like you're losing, part of the identity. You have this identity, this hard bitch, this you're saying you're iron, Amazon woman, and you don't need anybody and you all that. And then all of a sudden you meet somebody and then that changes. So this is not what I really expected. And how can you warn anybody about that? How can you warn someone about that? You can't. You know what I mean? You can't, because you don't really understand it. I mean, I literally did not. It's so funny, because I helped more women get married and have relationships as a coach, but I didn't have this. So it was more clinical. And I had a therapist. I was going to a therapist for a while. Therapist that I'd gone to for years. He's a male, and he did not like me being with Greg at all. He did not like. And I would tell him things about Greg, and he would get all, and I would be all up in alarms, and then he would get all up in alarm, and then we're both like, and then not that. And then I'd end up back with Greg. And so he'd be like, what? Why are you with him? So, I finally had to let because what the therapist wanted for me, because he'd been my therapist for like 10, 15 years, is for me to be safe. And he wanted me to be safe, and he wanted me not to be outside of my comfort zone. Basically, if I said in a nutshell, that's what he wanted. And for me to be with Greg, I had to get outside of my comfort zone. And that was the hard part. It was the hard part. And then I had to say, okay, I'm going to go with my heart, with what my heart is telling me. This is what my heart is telling me. And so then what you're doing is basically, when you have those kind of feelings, you're taking a risk. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting into a rhythm with us. So we live together. We cohabit together. But there's certain, like today, like this week, I normally would be at his house, but here's Monday and Tuesday, parts of Tuesday. I'm not going to get his house till tomorrow afternoon. So I'll be doing my live tomorrow from his house. But on when he's here, he has to work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So, he comes here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday he's got to work. Tuesday he works at the bank. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So, we're having a rhythm where we still have some time apart, and I'm okay being home today, and I'm going to work tomorrow because I have to work. The timing. Probably get my nails done in the morning, and then I'll have my client, and then I will go to drive to his house. So, yeah, I think when you let someone in, that's the deal. I think that letting someone in, Greg ended up in. He just got in. I didn't plan for him to get in. But Greg was looking for romance. Let me just face it. We both know about it. I thought this man was going through all of this, driving 3 hours, driving 7 hours, watching my dog. I'm thinking he's doing all that because he wanted a relationship. He wanted a relationship, but he wanted more romance. Let me just say it that way. So that was his bubble. Like, oh wow, this guy really wants a relationship, and he's over here. I really want some romance, and we kind of did that. And I was under the impression that this is what he was here for, but he wasn't for there. So when somebody asked me who said in love first, so we would, when we first, it's no secret, when we first got together, and I've never, ever, ever, ever done this in my life, and maybe that's how he got in, is that I just, okay, he's my lover. I'm going to have a lover. I've never had just a lover and we don't know where we're going. I've never, ever, ever allowed that. My coach said, can he be your lover? And I'm like, well, I never did that before, but okay, well, I'll try it. But because of my nature, I was bonding while being in this very, very, we have this very, 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 very hot relationship. I just have to say that's, I guess it's like that. It's like, I think it's amazing that he and I found each other, because we are just like that together, and so I was in this very, very hot and passionate relationship after not been in a romance for 20 years. And he just more than rang my bell. He had fireworks and you name it. It was like this whole different experience I'd never had my entire life. And so, he was equally like, wow, what happened here? And we were like, we when we first got together, we hardly got out of bed at all. We went to Turks. He took me to Turks and Caicos on a business trip. And, I went to my classes and stuff, but we just were in bed the whole time. And we could do that now. Well, we don't, we make ourselves get up, but we are, yeah, he came in hot. He did. And so we were in each other's arms, because we would just like we think should we go to the park or should we go here, or we'd have more fun being in each other's arms. And no, we would just be in each other's arms and just talk and laugh and share stories, and then make love, and then talk again, and make love. That's how we would do it all day. And and he said, he said, I could really tell you that I'm in love with you and I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. I mean, he was honest about it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I didn't say I was in love either, but we did get there. We did both. I don't know when we both got there. I was bonded because for a woman, when you have that, allow a man to be that much, it was just, I was bonded. So anyway, that's what happened. You know what I mean? And so he just like got it. I just like I got outside my comfort zone, and and then I was bonded, and then we had this tear. I mean, we still do. I mean, we've been together, and we like laugh because he's 74 and I'm 77, and we have. I mean, I don't know many people that probably have as much romance as we do. I mean, it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. I mean, it could be every day. It could be sometimes twice a day. I mean, and it's like never, it's totally exciting and totally, like, how did this happen? And, so we wake up in the morning and I'm in his arms, and we go to bed at night and I'm in his arms, and he's very, very thoughtful, and he always told me from the very beginning is that I want to make you happy. I want to please you. I want you to be happy. And that's what he really does try to do. And he's a guy. He's still a guy. But it's still outside of my comfort zone. I'm just being honest. And how it's manifesting, is that I'm falling and I'm losing stuff and all that. And my nervous system is getting used to being in in this kind of thing. You know what I mean? I mean, I'll tell you, I have had more sex with him in the last 2 years than I've had in my entire life. So that means 75 in 2 years I've had more sex than I've had in 75 years of my life. Much more, probably 100 times more. So, I mean, if I would classify my sexuality in my life, I've been more anorexic. You know what I mean? I just, like, more often than not, I did not have a romance in my life. The 20 years I had, the last 20 years, I had no romance, but even in my most of my life, it was fine. Years could go by and I would not have romance in my life. So all of a sudden to have more romance at 77, and like we dance, like when we dance, like I feel excited in his arms, when we dance, when we slow dance together. And we hold hands when we go to the store, the grocery store or whatever, and we laugh and we talk. And my nervous system is going, it's like, what's going on? So anyway, that is, I am, and then the other thing is that I'm sharing with you all. Anita, if you could share, do you have that link? Did I share it with you? That I created, and Greg's been very supportive of it, is I created something called the Invisible Rule. And it's an app. And I'm so excited about it because you get to talk to me, and I should be talking to me too. This is what I'm like, oh, I got this so I could talk to me too. So if you go on there and, it says, hello, it's me. It sounds like me. And it took all my experience. I took all the information that I have in my head and all the stuff. I've been doing it all these years. And I put it in to an AI. Yep. So if you go there and first of all, you do a little quiz, because it'll tell you, you can try to find out what your invisible rule is. Then you can talk to me, and I'll say something like, on a scale to 1 to 10, how do you feel today? And then you'll tell me. And then I'll say, are you in a safe place? And then I'll say, I want you to tell me 3 things that they're going on in your life, and I'll answer you. I'll answer you. Do you have that? Did I give it to you, Anita? Did I? Do you have that link, or should I? Ah, it's the X-ray. It has an X-ray. Do you have that, Anita? No. Let me see. Let me see if I can give it to you. I don't know. I have to get more organized with that. But anyway, I have it's not over here. Let's see. Could she pin it? Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to try to give it to Anita. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to have to give it to you later because I can't get it to you right now. And I don't know how to get it to Anita. But anyway, if you go there, and I spent 6 months trying to get this all together, and I'm really excited about it. And it's called The Invisible Rule. And I actually wrote a book. I'll share the book with you later. But let me see if I can. Oh, it's give me here. So I could go and find Anita here. And so she could share it with you. It's Tara Draben. Where's Anita? Anyway, I can't. Okay, let me see. I look at Anita. Anita. Okay, here it is. Okay, so let me send her the link so she can share it and she can tie it in. So anyway, you go on there and then you'll hear me. You'll hear my voice. Oh, you shared it already, Anita? Okay, I just messaged it to you. So, try it out because we're on this journey together and I'm going to be using it. I need to be using it every day, actually, because it'll help me not to disassociate. And I want to stop sabotaging myself because I'm like outside of my comfort zone. Basically, that's the whole thing, is that I am outside of my comfort zone. So since I'm outside of my comfort zone, I am not, in my body. So yes. So anyway, yeah, try it out. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to make a promise. I'm going to do it tonight for myself because I need to be in my body, and I want to be in my body when I get back with him. It's so funny when we're not together, we miss each other. So anyway, I'll be back tomorrow night. I'm here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm with my honey. And, and I just feel embarrassed. I'm like 77 and like, teenager in love or something. Doing stuff, losing my stuff. But anyway, try my invisible rule because it's going to help you and it's going to help me. And so that we can be in our bodies, not associate, and, and keep growing and keep learning about ourselves. Anita, thank you so much for being a wonderful moderator. She is so devoted and wonderful. And Toby, I'm so glad that you've been able to be here. I know you've been traveling. And Lisa, I'm always glad that you're here. So these are my buds. And thank you for Patricia and Bridget over at Facebook. And I'm actually doing too. I'm doing TikTok and I'm doing Facebook all at the same time. I love you all. And I'll see you tomorrow. And I'll be talking to you from Greg's house. Okay? I'll talk to you later. Good night. Good night, Facebook. We'll see you tomorrow.